Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into MassMailer. Siva, I'm going to stop sharing, and then I will, then you'll be able to share your screen and jump into your demo.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Margaret, for the opportunity here. I'm happy to present MassMailer just to kind of introduce myself and MassMailer, yeah. I'm Siva Divaki. I'm the founder and the co-CEO of MassMailer. I've been in the ecosystem, Salesforce ecosystem for the past 10 plus years. Been in the IT industry for 20 plus years now. Dealt with various customers, problems, projects, products. Ultimately got into the email thing almost like 3 years ago when we tried to send out email campaigns for our own company. We realized that, hey, there's something that's missing here, why it needs to be so complicated sending out emails from Salesforce. And that's how everything started. MassMailer product was born, and eventually it became a product, and then eventually it became a company. And here we are, we got a few thousand customers, a lot of nonprofits using MassMailer today for various email communication. I would be happy to jump into various features that we have, and also a quick demo. Happy to answer any questions. And feel free to interrupt me in between. We can be a little informal. No need to wait till the Q&A session. If you have any questions, just interrupt me. I'm happy to clarify all of that. Okay, so how we have been helping nonprofits at a very high level. Anyone who wants to communicate via Salesforce through emails, especially as of today, they need some sort of a tool, right? Whether it is for the sake of fundraising, maybe you have to have certain renewal notices, reminder emails that are going out for donations, any kind of a communication that you're doing with your donors. Maybe you got newsletters and event announcements, some sort of an engagement that you need to do with the community, or in general, any kind of a workflow email alerts that you need to have in Salesforce for tracking purposes, especially the opens and clicks and bounces, all of that. This is where you really need a simple tool through which you can actually do all of these things in one place. And that's what we really help with nonprofits. And there are nonprofits that are using it just for the newsletters, maybe just the donor communication. Some nonprofits have gone ahead and started using it for email alerts and reminders and whatnot. And some of the advantages that you see, since it's a native app, so users do not have to really go into a different system. They can just stay within Salesforce and use the app, and it's quite easy step-through process that you go through when you're sending out emails. And also, statistics are right there within Salesforce. You can capture all the statistics, opens and clicks and all of that. You can view them. You can also add the opt-outs, and you can also have various groups that you're going to define, such as, let's say you want to have email preferences, for example, like donor communication is one email group. Maybe you have fundraising or marketing communication. You want to segregate all of them, and you want to provide an opportunity to the recipients to unsubscribe from a specific group. That's called as a subscription group. So you can create that. So the file attachments in the drip campaign is another feature that we added. Drip campaign can be done via the process builder. We are taking the simplest approach, even though there are certain limitations with process builder. It works fine if you have not a high volume, like a low volume drip campaigns that you need to create. You can still do, get away with the process builder. And the file attachments, if you ever have to attach any files, PDFs and all that, you can do that as well with MassMailer. Why Salesforce email solution is not the best solution for email communication? Not that we are trying to say anything negative about it. It's just that Salesforce is a great CRM platform. Of course, they got a great marketing product as well. But if you're just limited to using their standard CRM platform, it's got certain limitations when it comes to email communication. The top one is the daily email limit that you always know, the 5,000 email limit for the entire company. That kind of puts you in a situation that, hey, what if I have more than 5,000? I have to put them in batches and send it across, right? That's the biggest problem. And the same thing as statistics, most important thing, when you're sending out campaign, you want to make sure that you know exactly what's going on with them, how many opens and clicks and spam and bounce, all of that. So it's very important information so that you know the campaign performance. And the most important thing that I always say with the customers is okay, fine, I'm spending a lot of time to come up with the email strategy and I have my recipients, but are my emails going on well? Is it getting into spam? How do you know that? So that's the biggest worry that I see, the email deliverability issues. And we got certain tools through which you can actually make sure that emails are getting delivered. The topmost thing that I can think of is the dedicated IP address. You can get the dedicated IP address. You can authenticate your emails to make sure that it's going on from your own domain. You can make sure that the email content is not spammy and the layout is looking good. So various things that you can do to improve the deliverability. And also tracking email alerts is very important, not just sending email alerts. You want to know someone clicked, opened, bounced, what happened with that email if you're sending out email alert through the workflow. That's something that you could do. And of course, we talked about the subscription groups and the email preferences. And also, when you're sending out emails, sometimes not every user is sending it. You want someone to send on behalf of someone else. It's more like giving a flexibility who the sender is. That's very important. And building out the template is always a bigger pain. We face this issue. Like if you don't know the HTML, you will have to hire someone, go back and forth with that person to make sure the design is right. God knows whether the design looks fine, but we don't know whether it's going to be responsive or not, how it's going to look like when somebody opens it in a mobile device, right? So making sure that it's highly responsive, and we have a tool through which you can actually build your own templates. So you don't need HTML coding knowledge as such. And again, MassMailer again is simple, easy to use tool, 100% native to Salesforce app, but it's also very powerful with a lot of features that I'm going to show it to you. And we got native APIs. If you need to extend the functionality of MassMailer, you can call the APIs too. And it is customizable just because you get the APIs, and also it's all native, so the objects, custom objects that you can report on. You can build some custom pages on top of it too. And we use the native email templates, so that makes it easy. So whatever email templates that you already have, you can reuse them in the app. One case study that I want to highlight for San Francisco Zen Center, they wanted to have reminder emails to go out whenever the subscription is due. It's quite complex, not that it's a very simple thing to do, because there are certain complex rules that they're implemented internally, how those alerts would go out. So it needed a little bit more thought than a simple a process builder process. So the San Francisco Zen Center came to us saying that, hey, we currently use some other marketing solution, but we're missing this bigger piece. It may need some custom development and whatnot. And we said, hey, you may not need it. Just use the process builder and send out the email alerts, and you can also get to track. And that's how they kind of came to us and became a customer. And then they successfully rolled out the feature through which they can actually send out the alerts without having to develop any Apex code at all. And again, it's sending out reminders 30 days before the expiration of the subscription, and again 14 days before, and also after 1 day the membership expires, they want to send one more reminder. And if, let's say, somebody renews the subscription in between, then you have to stop these alerts going on. So there's a little bit of a custom field that you need to define, which actually finds out that renewal happened, they have received the check, so that your process can actually look at those custom fields and stop the alerts going on. They, of course, are very happy, and they've started referring a few other nonprofits to us. So we're happy to have San Francisco Zen Center as one of our customers. Any questions so far before I actually get on to a quick demo?
I think that's what everyone's waiting for, the demo. You'll probably get more questions then.
Sure. Definitely. All right. Okay. So the exciting thing is today I'm actually going to demo our new version of MassMailer. So there are certain features that are actually more than what I talked about in the presentation, and there are certain features that are still under development. So I'll demonstrate whatever we have in the new app. I'm sure this is going to be very, very useful, especially for those people who have been struggling with the right solution that is native to Salesforce, which can do things in a simple manner, right? So at a high level, when you install MassMailer, you would end up using 3 tabs most of the times. So I would highlight them. One is the Outreach Wizard, through which you can actually send out email. You can see the step through process that you have here. And the other one is called MassMailer List Views. And the third one is called Template Builder. And the other features, again, let's just talk about these ones first before we talk about the others. Okay, Template Builder. All right. Talking about the list views, right? List view is a custom object that we defined through which you can actually build your own list view. The reason why we developed this is Salesforce list views are limited in nature, meaning you can only create a list view with certain filters. You can't really go to the parent. You can go to the parent, not to the all parents. But when you really wanted to filter on the child records, there's no way you can do that. So we created a list view, which is actually quite advanced. And we also support custom objects. I know I didn't have that in the presentation just because it's a brand new app. So we support any object that has got email address. You can see campaign member, contact lead, case user, course. Course is a custom object. But if you have donation as an object, for an example, and if you need to send email to donation, you can actually set up that object in MassMailer. It's very simple to set up any object in MassMailer. I'll show it to you as well. So let's just go ahead and try to create a view. Let me call this as a demo view for nonprofits. Okay. And let's pick up an object. And here you can see the filter criteria and filter type and the filter criteria for the child. And the filter criteria itself has the parent fields as well. So this is kind of combined criteria for the object fields and the parent fields. So let's say you want to pick email address. You can actually search through. Let me show it to you. So it's easy. You just type in and find out what field it is and say, I want to search on a specific email address, and then you can actually preview, and it didn't bring any records because maybe it's not there. Let me just check. What do I have in leads? Let's quickly go create one. we got the record. And then we can just go save this. So that becomes your list view. Now that you have the target list, you want to build a template. Again, I'm not going to really go in depth, but I'll just touch base on what the template builder is. Again, if you already have templates in Salesforce, that's fine. You can actually reuse. But it's a good way to at least touch base this so that you know the end-to-end functionality of MassMailer. There are two tabs that you see: Manage Email Template and Base Template. Base template meaning, let's say you want to have a template that is like basic in nature, but you wanted your users to modify that, maybe the subject or maybe the content, whatever. You can create a base template, and that base template can be made as available for the users when they actually go to this Manage Email Template. So let's say you pick a folder where you want to store, and then you have an option to say create a new template. And if you already have created a base template, you can select that. If not, you can just say, hey, I'm going to go create my newsletter, an example. And let's call this as August 19 newsletter. And now here, how do you really create the template? It's a drag and drop. You will see three things here: content, rows, and settings. Most of the times you're going to be in content and rows. In the content, you can see various elements like text, image, buttons, HTML, social divider, video. Most of the times you can leave away, like you can get away with these components to create your email template. But if you have something like custom, you can always build that with the HTML snippet and then drag and drop that HTML. And what is rows? So in an email template, you typically have like the number of components in each row could be 1, could be 2 with different lengths, a different width. It could be 3, again with different width, and 4. Maximum 4 is what we have provided. So let's say this is your header, and you need maybe one more row there, another row there, maybe one more for the footer, and one more for the social links. An example. Let's just drag and drop these rows. And each component now, let's look at each row. This one being the header image. Let's drag and drop. And this is your divider. And let's say this is another image. Maybe you have some text there. Maybe you want to have a button. You can add a button. And you may have a video. You can add the video. And let's say you want to add something in between. So you can separate them, drag and drop that, and then add a divider that kind of separates those two. And again, you can have a divider there. And maybe now you can have social links right below that, right? And this is your email template. Now you can examine each one of these content items here. Let's say you want to change this, this particular section. This is the row properties. You can change the row properties with various background color. If you want to do anything on the image, let's just go add an image by clicking on that browse button, and then let's try to find a logo. Let's say we pick one of the logos there. And that becomes your header, right? And let's say this is another image that you want to add. And again, I'm going to pick something which may not be super good, but that's okay. And this is your text. You can actually just go type in saying that this is my text. And this can be highlighted. You can change the actual font size or make it bold. All of those text editing options are right here. You can change the color as well. It's very easy. You just have to click and then change the color, whatever the color that you need. And changing the button properties is easy. Just select this, and then you have an option to change the background color for the button. Sorry, not for the rows. Let's pick none. Just select the button. And here, the button properties, such as the color, you can change it. And if you needed to change the actual text itself, it's very easy. Let's say click me. And the auto width, you can turn off the auto width and say, hey, I want to increase the width. And you can change the text color, align it the way you want it. And also the URL can be a web page. It could be you can send an email. Send email will actually bring up 3 fields. And if it's just a simple web page, you can just say, hey, I want to connect with my website.com, something like that, right? You maybe have a contact form, right? So you can connect to the URL right there. Same thing with the video. You have various options by clicking on this. You will come to know that there's a video URL. You can use the YouTube or Vimeo. But if you actually have video hosted on your website, you can actually do that by a simple URL. We have instructions on how to do that. And also you can actually just have more options for the padding, and you can say, hey, I want to kind of increase the width, reduce the width by adding some extra padding on both all the sides, and that kind of centers it. And here it's very cool. You can see the social links. All you're doing is just clicking on that, and you can change the color or anything that actually suits your company template. You can change, and then here you come and then enter the specific URL for the social channels that you may have, and that's it. Your social thing is ready. And if you needed to add maybe another text there, for example, your address, whatever you need to add in the footer, you can just maybe, it's my company name, something like that, right? And your phone number, whatever. So enter that, and that becomes your footer, right? And image, we actually did not talk about the properties. Quickly going to that, you can actually have same thing for the image. You can have the alternate text and the URL. The image link can be mentioned here. Again, it can be an email or a web link, make a call, SMS, all the options are given, and the padding options are there, right? So that's how easy it is to create your template. And I know we did not talk about the merge field. Since it's a native Salesforce app, we support the merge field. This is quite advanced. This is where I think you would really like it, because we support all the objects that are supported in MassMailer, meaning whatever you set up in the settings, custom object, any object that has got email, you can actually select that. An example, lead, and select field, and we give you all the options for the merge field. So you just say, hey, I want to use certain merge field, let's say first name, and this becomes your merge field. We support both Lightning and Classic, so whichever one you want to pick. So this is a merge field. All you're going to do is just say, hey, this is my merge field, right? Enter that. Save this work by clicking on the Save button in the editor. And there's a Save button at the bottom of the screen called Save to Salesforce. This is important. So you have to save it to Salesforce. That way your template gets saved successfully, right? So that's how you build your template. And we already created the list view, even though I didn't really go to the advanced section of the child filters. It's quite easy to do it. Once these two are done, you're actually going to go to the Outreach Wizard to send out emails. Once we do this, I think.
Interrupt. Sorry,
sure.
We have a couple of questions that I wanted to maybe address before you move on to the next part of it. Michael was asking about the email addresses that can be used. you said you can use any email address on any object, whether it's standard or custom. Does it have to be an email address type, data type field, or can it just be like a formula field that displays an email address?
Yeah, unfortunately, it needs to be email field because we need that to be validated. So it is supposed to be an email field. You can create a formula field that brings up from the other text field.
Right.
But ultimately, it needs to be an email field. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know we have places where we're grabbing the email address from contact and displaying, using a formula to display it on other objects. But so it does need to be an email address type field. That's good to know.
Correct.
Thank you. And then
Correct.
also, Stephanie,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, I'd love Stephanie to jump on and ask your question because it's a little bit specific. I think it'd be better if you ask Steve yourself. Is that okay?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So our organization, we have, we just say 3 main agencies for which, say, a donor could have different email preferences. And I'm wondering if MassMailer, like I know we haven't seen how the preferences work, but I'm just wondering if that's a situation that can be accommodated for, where somebody might have different preferences for one agency from another.
Oh, okay. That's something that we can certainly look into. Not that it is an option right now, but we can certainly look into that and see how that can be implemented. Right now, whatever the groups that you mentioned, the preferences, we display all the preferences to the users. I think there's a way we can actually customize the landing page. That way you're actually showing maybe all of them, but different work groups. But that may not be the best solution that you're looking for, I understand. So we can discuss offline. You can send me an email and we can certainly look into this and see how this can be implemented for each work group.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Great.
And I saw a question from Michael. I think it's the same thing about the email data field. And can that be a lookup to contact? Can that be a lookup to contact? So the email field coming from a different object. So let me answer this in a different manner. Right now, we are supporting the target object, whether it is lead, contact, a custom object, or any object that you want to send email to, which has got email field. So that's what we have developed so far. In the upcoming releases, maybe 1 or 2 down the line, we will be supporting the parent object, meaning you have a lookup on an object. You want to send an email to the lookup, we will support that. And if you want to send an email to a related list, we will be supporting that as well. So whether it is parent or the child object, you will be able to send emails. Hope that answers that question.
Yes.
Any more questions before we move on?
I think we're all good for right now. I think you can go ahead and continue. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, so Outreach Wizard, you click on the tab and you can see the steps that are mentioned right there. Let's go through each one of them. You can see that only email is highlighted right now, and SMS, MMS, voice is in grayed out, which means it's still not there in the product. That's coming. So that you don't have to use different tabs for sending out email, SMS. You can just do it within MassMailer itself. So the next step, so here the target audience, all you're doing is selecting what is your object and then what is the list view. The list view that we created, we just select that, and you got an option to edit, clone, or if you want to create a brand new, you can do that just by clicking on those 3. And then go to the next step. And here, email template is what you're going to choose. Again, as I mentioned, you can choose something that is already created in Salesforce because we let you select the folders. And go select something. Maybe it's in custom. So let's do this. I'm just going to pick something not really very intuitive as such, just something which is just text type. And here we support the basic editor and advanced editor. Anything that has been created in the advanced editor will load up in the advanced editor. Let's go to the simple email functionality right now. And you would see the merge field section here as well. This is actually revamped, this particular section. We've updated it in the recent version. It's going to be much more advanced than this. Otherwise, you will have an option to choose the object and the merge field, the respective merge field, and it will display right there. And then you will see the email subject and the body and the preview text, A/B testing. A/B testing will give you two options, alternate email subject. If not, you would just pick only one. Let's say first email, and the preview text is nothing but like when somebody does not even open the email, they just kind of got into the email client, and nowadays all the email clients have started showing the preview text, and that's what it is, the preview text. And then here you will have your the merge fields, and you will have your content. So let's say this is my merge field, and then this is my first email. Let's leave it that way. Once you have that, you go to the next step, and here you have an option to actually attach the files. We have various options. You can attach from the Salesforce document, attach from Salesforce attachments, other content, or maybe you can actually upload it from one of your like the drive files that you may have on your laptop. You just have to upload that, and then you keep going next. And here you have an option, the various sender options. You can send it as a logged in user. You can define a global sender in the setup screen, which I'll show it to you. Or you can send it as a record owner. Or you can actually send it on behalf of someone. So just enter what the fields are, and we will take it as on behalf of. Let's keep this as logged in user. And then you also have an option to select the recipient CC email. If you, let's say if you have primary email address and the secondary email address, you want to copy the secondary email address on every single email, you can choose that secondary email address, and that'll be copied. We have BCC options. You can BCC the sender, or you can BCC a specific email address. You can choose to have BCC once or BCC on every single email. You got that done, and now the delivery options. You have an option to schedule it a specific date and time, or you can actually send it now. And this is where the email groups come in picture. So you can have the specific group that you define that you want to send it to. Anyone who unsubscribed from this group will not receive the email. So it's more like a unsubscribed group, even though we call it as email group, just to keep it simple. And the IP pool, it's a little bit more advanced. If you ever are very careful about the email deliverability, and you want to define or create different dedicated IP addresses for various purposes, for example, marketing communication versus transactional emails versus donor emails, you want to use different IP address to secure your IP reputation. You can define those pools and then select which IP pool you want to choose at the time of sending. We have an option to suppress the unsubscribe link. You can just select this to suppress it, just in case if it is a mandatory to not to have this, just because those are your donors. You don't want them to unsubscribe, for example. And final step, all you're doing is you're just looking at what campaign that you've built already, and then you're just clicking on that finish button to send out email. Okay. So every single email that you send out is captured in an object called MassMailer outreach record, and it'll have all the campaign information. What is the campaign name, the recipient in the form of query and what template was used, who was the sender, and when was it delivered, and the status information, and the statistics information that gets updated every few minutes. You can see that all the statistics such as request, process, delivered, all of that is captured right there. And then the real-time stats are also populated when, like, this is more like real-time in a sense that it gets refreshed whenever you come to this particular page. So this is called the outreach record. Any questions so far? Seems like there's somebody who is
Yeah, sure. Deb was asking if are the unsubscribe options automatically added, or what kind of options are available for general unsubscribe options?
So if you don't have the email preferences, meaning if you don't send it to a specific group, we automatically add the unsubscribe link at the bottom of the email. Otherwise, if you have used a certain a group, then it is called as email preferences link is what gets used in the email. Okay, so it's either or. It can be something like this. The click here to unsubscribe, which is more like a global unsubscribe. If I click on this, I actually get unsubscribed. Otherwise, if you have used the email group, then we actually display two, where user can actually select which group they want to unsubscribe from. That's how it works. And you can see the attachment is also there. It's a regular email attachment. I know this is showing sendgrid.net. But this goes away when we actually authenticate your domain. So that's a setup that we do when we get on board, when we onboard any of our customers. So this becomes your domain.com via the domain.com so that you're properly authenticated.
Great. Yeah, that makes sense. That's really good. Does that help, Deb?
All right.
Excellent. Yes, she says yes.
Okay. And somebody's asking about MailChimp replacement. You're right. MailChimp is non-native Salesforce app. And I've seen customers struggling synchronizing the data between MailChimp and Salesforce. Since MassMailer is native to Salesforce, and we're not just a mass email solution anymore. I mean, we have SMS and all of those features coming on. So it becomes a full-blown outbound communication solution within Salesforce. So definitely it's a replacement for MailChimp, Constant Contact, or any other email solution that you're using so far, which are non-Salesforce apps.
Great. And then there's a question from Michael in the chat window also. Do you see, Michael was saying, with saving every record, every send as a record in Salesforce, could there be a data storage problem that would build up pretty quickly? And so is there an archiving option, or how is that recommended to be managed?
So we don't have an archival, but we have an auto delete option because these are not super critical data. Let's say you want to delete, like you can see that the MassMailer email status values got created right there. And these records get created, and also activity history gets created. So you can choose to delete certain like events that are not necessary. For example, process delivered, maybe it's not even necessary. Maybe opens are important, or maybe clicks are important for you. You can keep them for certain duration and then remove them. So currently I don't have that utility page. Otherwise, you can assume that you can auto delete the status values or the activity records, the statistics records that are older than a month or 2 months or 3 months or a few weeks. We will have all the options that are available so that you don't really incur the data storage, and you're automatically deleting the old data that you really do not need. And you can pick and choose which object you want to delete, whether it is status or activity or the campaigns or outreach records, you can pick and choose which one you want to delete. And there are archival solutions available for Salesforce. You can very well just get any archival solution and pick and choose which objects you want to archive. Otherwise, we will have the delete option, auto delete option, as well as the manual delete option, both of them. That way you don't have to worry about the data storage.
Right, good. Excellent. Okay, so any other questions for Siva about MassMailer? Anything you want to ask? I think it looks like it has some interesting features. It's nice that it's native to Salesforce. So anybody who's interested in learning more, I certainly would encourage you to get in touch with Siva, and you can always have, you know, a private demo for you and your organization, so you can kind of dig into your specific questions that might be more specific to your needs. So if there aren't any other questions, I think we can continue on. But like I said, we have Siva's information linked in the presentation, so you can get in touch with him. I'm sorry, Siva, was there more you wanted to cover in your slides? Mm-hmm. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, one thing I want to quickly kind of touch base, I'm not going to go to the full demo. So campaign is also something that we support. You come to campaign, the standard Salesforce campaign object, click on new MassMailer campaign, and you have an option to use leverage Salesforce campaign object to send out email to leads or contacts. Again, we made it a little easy. There are different flows that I can show, but one of the flows is just click on that button, and then you can add campaign members in the next step. Again, we show lead contact here. These are the two that are supported, and you select what view that you want to add as campaign members, and then you add the campaign members, and then you go to the next step. And this becomes the standard outreach wizard. Again, you go through the steps and send out emails. So this is one more way to send out emails via campaign. But I'm happy to kind of demonstrate, as Margaret was saying, happy to kind of go through this one-on-one if you have anything specific questions. Again, the pricing is on our website. It's two components there. One is the per user basis, meaning how many users you have. Based on that, you calculate the cost and how many emails you're actually sending out. Based on that, there's a cost associated to that. And if you have a dedicated IP address versus shared IP address, the price will differ. And this is showing the dedicated IP address, $99.99 for 100K emails. Again, we'll put together a quote provided you know exactly what you're getting. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, I think I have my company email address, hello@massmailer.io. I would receive this if you send an email to this. Feel free to contact me any questions that you may have, and happy to help you out. Once again, thank you so much, Margaret, for all the support and help.
Great.
You've been great.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very nice demo.